at this picture here, and you're looking at the big pond, and you're like, see the waves cracking up on the breakwater out there. We're not seeing anything for supposedly some high winds. The reason for that, winds are coming in from the west. So they're coming in from the shore out to the lake. And if you're right along shore here, the waters are still pretty calm. Get to the other side, get to the south side of Lake Michigan, and especially over towards the state of Michigan, those waves turn into some pretty high rollers. We've had some snowfall around the area, mostly light snowfall, much more just kind of a nuisance. Overnight tonight, we'll see skies clear off briefly before we go back to more clouds for much of the rest of the weekend. After hitting 40s early this morning, very early, just after midnight, we've been falling most of the day. We're in the 20s and 30s this hour, going down into the 20s overnight tonight. More chances of a few pockets of light snowfall. Winds will subside, and we will see more cloud cover. But I'll tell you when you can see what coming up this weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much, Mark. Well, a lot of fans are asking this question: will the Bears call Chicago home, Hammond, Indiana, or Arlington Heights? So far, we've heard from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle in Indiana and Illinois on the Bears' potential move. But now we are hearing from the village of Arlington Heights after the Chicago Bears signaled that a stadium in Hammond could be their next play. Village leaders say they spent 3 hours Wednesday meeting at the state capitol with House and Senate members and with the Chicago Bears, calling the discussion highly productive. While a follow-up meeting Thursday was canceled, leaders say conversations are still ongoing and expect that a bill will be drafted out of Springfield very soon. The statement goes on to say Bears representatives have repeatedly assured the village that the news regarding Indiana does not mean that they have made any decisions on a final site location, and that they will continue the frequent and productive discussions that have been underway in Illinois. A major decision from the Supreme Court that could impact your wallet.
Yeah, the High Court struck down President Trump's tariffs in a 6-3 decision. The justice ruled that levying tariffs is the job of Congress, not the president. President Trump had to try to use emergency powers to impose reciprocal tariffs on almost every country. They have been a big part of his economic agenda. Furious about the defeat, Trump said he will impose a global 10% tariff.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court. Absolutely ashamed. It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision.
Stocks rallied after the High Court's decision, but not every tariff is going away. The administration used a separate law to put tariffs on steel, aluminum, cars, copper, and lumber. At the center of this case is one suburban toy company that took its fight all the way to the top.
They specialize in educational toys and supply to schools across the nation. Casey Cronus is live from the company's warehouse in Vernon Hills. Casey?
Tia and Terrence, this has been a long legal battle. Not only is it rare for any case to make it to the U.S. Supreme Court, today's ruling marks an even bigger win for the company.
It's all very surreal. The ruling is vindicating.
A family-owned suburban toy company is celebrating a monumental victory after its case reached the nation's highest court and secured a landmark win. Family member Stephen Woldenberg gives us his first reaction.
I found out about it the same way everybody else did. I was online at about 9 o'clock in a one-on-one with a colleague, and there popped up the news, and we found out all together. It was an amazing experience.
In its lawsuit, the business, which houses several brands, including Hand to Mind and Learning Resources, argued that President Trump did not have the constitutional authority to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, known as IEEPA. Like other companies, under those sweeping tariffs, they were forced to drastically alter where and how they manufacture products. In 2024, Woldenberg says the company spent roughly $2 million on tariffs, but last year, $14 million.
It's been a suffocating tax, so it diverted away money that would have been spent on investing in our business, on growing our brands.
The U.S. Supreme Court heard its case in November, and after more than 3 months of waiting, the justices sided with the company in a 6-3 decision. Their opinion, a whopping 170 pages. Now, the million, or shall we say multi-billion-dollar question: what happens next? UIC professor of law Stephen Schwinn explains.
One is what happens with tariffs, right? And so these particular tariffs that President Trump issued under IEEPA IEEPA, these tariffs will go away because of today's court ruling. But the White House has already said that it's going to look to other tariff authorities to try to fill the gap. The other thing that we ought to be thinking about is the potential for reimbursement. Companies across the country have already started to retain attorneys to file claims against the federal government to recoup the tariff expenses that they paid over the past year.
Whether the federal government reimburses them or forces these companies to court is still up in the air. Either way, Professor Schwinn says it's a process that could take years to play out. Reporting live in Vernon Hills, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
Governor Pritzker is telling the White House to pay up. Now that the Supreme Court's decision is in, he wants the Trump administration to send out refund checks so families get their money back. He even drew up an invoice for over $8,600,000, the amount he says Illinois families paid in tariffs. He put it at about $1,700 for each family. Senator Dick Durbin had a lot to say as well.
Political reporter Paris Schutt spoke with him in a one-on-one. What did you talk about?
We had a wide-ranging discussion, Terrence, into a number of topics, starting with the tariffs. And Senator Durbin says the big question right now is, what happens to the money already collected? Does it go back to the individual? Does it go to the companies that paid him? Does it just go back to the country of origin for these products? The Supreme Court, as you know, ruled today that the president's move was not constitutional. The emergency powers the president used to justify do not work in terms of going over Congress to enact a law that is supposed to be Congress's power to enact, the power of the purse. But Senator Durbin says the Supreme Court decision should be surprising to nobody, and now it's a question of what happens next.
The American consumers have been paying these tariff trade taxes of the Trump administration now for months. The question is, how will we turn back the revenues that were received and do it in a fair fashion? I worry about the following. Let's assume I'm buying a product from overseas. The president has imposed a tariff on it. It's 20% more expensive than it used to be. I pay the 20%. Now who gets the refund? Me as an American consumer or American business? Or is it only going to go to the countries where the tariff was imposed?
Now, there is legislation in the House to rebate some of that tariff money. Governor Pritzker, as you mentioned, said, hey, $1,700 per every Illinoisan for the, quote, damage that Trump wrought on farmers, Pritzker says, with these tariffs. As you know, Trump has tried to find alternative avenues to instill them. Now, on another hot topic in D.C., the SAVE Act, voter ID, mandated voter ID in every single state, including Illinois. You know, the president wants it. Republicans have pushed for it. There's immense pressure on Republican Senate Leader John Thune to get rid of filibuster, which requires 60 votes to move legislation forward. Some on the right want him to nuke it, pass it by a simple majority. Senator Durbin says he doesn't believe Thune will bow to that pressure.
I think the 60-vote threshold will hold up. I hope it does. But let me tell you something. Imposing a requirement on every voter in America that there are only 3 acceptable forms of identification. One of them is a passport. Half of the American people don't own a passport. The other one is a birth certificate. You look for yours lately. And for the women of our country who have gotten married and have a different name than their birth certificate, how are we going to explain that difference at the polling place when you want to vote? And a naturalization certificate is the third source of information. So it sounds simple, show your ID. But when you don't include driver's licenses, which most people use, it makes it complicated and difficult for people to vote.
Now, we also asked Senator Durbin whether he had seen some of the redacted Epstein files or the unredacted files and who he endorses in the race to replace him. As you know, we had that primary this week for that Democratic Senate seat, or the Democratic primary for that Senate seat, and you can check out the answers to that on our social media channels.
All right, Paris, thank you. A Kane County grand jury has indicted a chiropractor in Batavia accused of secretly filming patients. David Hansen was indicted on 76 felony counts, including creating child sexual abuse material and unauthorized video recording. Investigators say he hid cameras throughout his office at Hansen Family Chiropractic, even a room where people undress. Police say he filmed more than 180 people, including children. He was arrested back in November. He remains behind bars.
Residents in Little Village are calling on the FBI to investigate the killing of a man in Franklin Park at the hands of ICE. Immigration agents fatally shot Silverio Villegas Gonzalez last September. DHS claimed he was evading arrest when he drove his car at officers and dragged one of them before an officer opened fire. They also claimed his injuries were serious, but body camera footage later released showed that officer calling his injuries, quote, nothing major. Local activists are now questioning why 5 months after this killing, no investigation has been opened, unlike 2 fatal DHS-related shootings in Minneapolis.
We have seen that in Silverio's case, justice has not prevailed. Justice delayed is justice denied. We don't want another individual to die in the hand of ICE and the death be ignored, the murder be ignored, the family be ignored.
The group says they will protest every Friday until they get a meeting.
Nearly 3 weeks and still no sign of Nancy Guthrie.
Still to come, the latest steps investigators are taking to try to find whoever is responsible for taking her.
Scary moment on the slopes. What happened when a group of bears showed up when people were skiing?
And a touching tribute taking place to honor one of the victims who died in a crash on the Bishop Ford Expressway.
Fox 30.
Who work as hard as you do.
Loved ones are getting ready to honor one of the victims who died in the accident on the Bishop Ford, the Ford Bishop, I should say, early Thursday morning.
Leslie Moreno joins us live on the south side with more on this. Leslie?
Hey guys, good evening. Yeah, friends and family are set to gather here at Ellis Park on Cottage Grove for a balloon release to honor 23-year-old Lazarus Gonzalez, also known as Hollywood. You can see here behind me, friends and family have started to arrive here. Hollywood was one of those 2 victims that was killed in that car crash early Thursday morning. Illinois State Police telling us the crash happened on the Fort Bishop Highway. 17-year-old Boaz, also known as Bo Flemister, and 23-year-old Lazarus Gonzalez, known as Hollywood, were in that SUV when the driver of the vehicle lost control, flipped, and landed on its side. Bo and Hollywood were pronounced dead at the scene. They were both beloved members of the Chicago dance community Empire Dance Institute. 3 of their teammates were also in that SUV and were ejected and had to be rushed to the hospital. Tonight, we're being told that one of the people person has been released and is at home recovering right now. We're told the second person is still in the hospital in critical condition, and we're also being told that the driver of the vehicle is still in the hospital in a coma. We are expecting more friends and family to arrive here. They are running a little bit late, but we'll have more on this coming up tonight at 9. For now, reporting live here in the South Side, Les Moreno, Fox, Chicago.
Thank you so much for that. Well, 2 people are being questioned in connection with a pair of deadly carjackings. The pair have not been charged yet or identified, but we do know the victims included 22-year-old Darwin Tirado. His family and friends held a candlelight vigil over the weekend. Tirado was sitting in a car during the early morning hours. This was on February 11th when he was attacked and shot. Police believe his vehicle was later used in another deadly carjacking just an hour later in the neighborhood of Bronzeville. The second victim was identified as 48-year-old Damon Cullum.
The owner of a spa in Hinsdale pleaded not guilty in court this morning. He's accused of filming clients using a hidden camera. Jason Wade Spencer ran away from us when we tried to ask him questions before his court appearance. He's facing 64 felony counts for allegedly recording customers at Reflection Spa without their knowledge. Prosecutors said the videos were apparently made between mid-July and late November of 2024. Police discovered hidden cameras in a hard drive after receiving a tip. Trouble on the tracks in the south suburbs. 17 cars on a CSX train derailed near 140th and Spalding Avenue. This area borders both Harvey and Dixmoor. Several crossings were blocked. No one was hurt. Nothing dangerous spilled out of the train.
Fox Chicago received a tip that explicit content involving a minor was being distributed on YouTube. Content depicting a Jane Doe victim from the criminal case against R. Kelly. The woman recently came forward publicly in a new book identifying herself as Rashana Landfair. After reviewing the information, we contacted YouTube for answers, and within 24 hours, the streaming platform confirmed it terminated the channel for violating its child safety policies. YouTube tells us the user is now permanently banned, prohibited from using, possessing, or creating any future channels on their platform.
All right, it's a bit windy out there. Let's check in with Mark Strell.
Yeah, that's almost an understatement today. Temperatures have been falling throughout the day as well. Notice now temperatures are down into the upper 20s on the southwest side of the city, down from the 30s where we've been for much of the afternoon. Winds gusting at times 37 miles per hour. Right now in the Fox Valley, 33 mile per hour wind gusts. Pretty common from around Gary all the way back through the southwest side. These winds are going to taper off slowly as we go through the next several hours, but we've had winds gusting from 40 into the low 50 mile per hour range today. We've had a high wind advisory posted earlier today for Chicago. That's been since taken down, but you can see if you're traveling eastbound, you'll run into that, especially as you head over a little closer to LaPorte County in Indiana, or if you're going anywhere up through the lower peninsula this evening. Wind chills with the winds, as you might imagine, and make it very chilly. Feels more like 12 degrees this hour in the Fox Valley, 21 degrees now at the Lakeshore, 19 at O'Hare, and 15 the current wind chill value, both Morris and also at Midway Airport. We can see down the lake, but you can see that it is going to be cloudy. We'll clear out for a time this evening, but those clouds are right back for a good portion of the weekend. I'll tell you more about that and what the clouds could yield. Give you a hint, a few snowflakes coming up.
Starting
Welcome back. There are several stories across America that are making headlines tonight,
including the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother. It is now in its 20th day. Investigators are looking over biological evidence found at Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. She hasn't been seen since February 1st. Investigators believe she was taken against her will. Last weekend, the sheriff's department said gloves were recovered that appeared to match those worn by a man seen in a doorbell camera video at her front door the morning she disappeared. The DNA profile found on the gloves, though, did not turn up any matches in the FBI's database.
Oh, there's a person, bro. Hey, get out of here.
I mean, every second counts. Keep looking at this. A car rescue caught on camera in Florida. This is in Jacksonville. Police say this all started when a man carjacked a woman and took off with her toddler in the back seat. Officers were trying to stop the suspect when he hit another car, causing the fiery wreck. A woman's hair was on fire when they pulled her from that car. She is still recovering. The 14-year-old with her was able to escape before police got there. The toddler in the suspect's car was okay and returned to their mother. The suspect, though, definitely arrested.
Let's keep it in Florida. Crash involving a school bus. A car slams into the back of the bus and then gets wedged underneath. No students were on board. The driver of the bus was taken to the hospital. Had some bumps and scrapes. The driver of the car was cited for, well, following too closely.
A perfect example of being in the right spot at the right time in Washington State. A man fell through the ice along the lake, but he did it just as the local sheriff's office was conducting a water training exercise nearby. You can't make this up. The deputies spotted him and quickly put their training to good use. Maybe it was staged, pulling the man out and getting him to safety. He is doing okay, which is definitely a great thing. Police say the water temperature was just 35 degrees. The sheriff's office says if they hadn't been there, that man may not have survived.
Stop! Move! Get out of there!
No way.
All right, this is pretty scary for skiers and snowboarders. This is at a resort in Lake Tahoe. They were enjoying the afternoon when three bears went charging across the mountain. At first, everyone was unsure if they were in danger. You heard people screaming. The bears ended up on the other side of the run, seemingly unbothered by the drama they created in their home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're in their crib.
You're
well, here's another bear caught on camera causing some trouble in Florida. The family says they were camping hundreds of miles away when they got an alert on their phone that someone was at their house, and it turned out to be a bear. Maybe one of those three little bears looking for a place to stay. But then the bear took a package and then just walked away. When it turns back around, it picks up the package with its mouth and leaves. The family lives near a forest, so they're used to seeing bears there. But they say this is the first time that one decided to take one of their packages. Maybe it was something tasty in there.
That's what I'm saying. Tell us what's in there.
Beef
jerky.
jerky.
Blame the bear. What's in there?
I don't know. Something
Okay.
good.
A record store in Beverly facing more setbacks after a major crash last month.
The business doesn't have power. The help they're now receiving from the Chicago Bulls.
I'm Cassie Carlson. Another insider predicts Max Crosby to the Bears, but this one could cost the Bears a little bit more. And the Cubs and Sox open up Cactus League play in Arizona, and Munetaka Murakami put Seiya Suzuki to the test. We have highlights later in sports.
Menards.
More reaction to the Supreme Court's decision to strike down the president's tariffs. An expert will walk us through the legal ramifications.
Governor Pritzker pushing his proposal to ban cell phones in the classroom.
And we have a follow-up to a story we told you about last month. Someone crashed through a record store on New Year's Day, and now they're dealing with 2 more setbacks.
Brett Bugansky is live in Beverly, and Brett, right now they're also in the dark. Another blow.
You just really feel bad for them. They still don't have power. They started opening, or they opened at around noon today. It's almost 5:30. Just look behind me. They are still in the dark, so hopefully they'll get that resolved. But to make matters worse, it was back on February 2nd where a pipe burst inside of their store. So not only is there structural damage to the front of their store where you can't get inside in the front, they now have water damage inside of the store. So they have crews who have had to rip up the floorboard just to make sure there's no mold inside. And because that happened, they lost even more inventory. We're talking about 160 records and 545s. So as they're making another insurance claim, co-owner Mallory McClure told me it's been a really tough 2 months, going from a traditional store to then they had online orders only. They have this pop-up store, and they're just in a situation where they really don't want to be in right now.
On behalf of the Bulls and BMO, we would like to gift you guys with a grant.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
All right, well, we were going to have one soundbite play before you heard Horace Grant there, so we apologize for that. But it's really been a tough few months for them, and they've really had to pivot, and they said that it's been frustrating at this time here. But they're going to be formally honored by the Chicago Bulls this Sunday when they play the New York Knicks, so hopefully they get some more news, good news coming up. But for now, we are live in Beverly tonight. Brett Bugansky, Fox Chicago.
Well, this is just into the newsroom. An update in the deadly Lakeshore Drive crash that killed 3 people last fall. On November 23rd, a Kia Forte struck a stalled Chevy Malibu, sparking a deadly fire. Both people in that Chevy died. 23-year-old Prince Sullivan and Deanna Kulovitz. They are differing accounts, though, of exactly what happened and who was driving the Kia. But one of his passengers also died. And now we've learned the only survivor, Miguel Angel Navarrete Palacios, was detained by ICE. He is an undocumented migrant from Ecuador. We are waiting on more details of his arrest and the charges he will now face.
St. William Parish filled up this morning with people who love Ophelia Torres. You may remember last fall, immigration detained her dad, Ruben Torres Maldonado. She was 16 and spent the last year fighting an aggressive form of cancer. She took classes from home during treatment. She went to Lakeview High. ICE picked up her dad and Niles right after she spent a weekend at home from the hospital. Doctor said the stress made treatment harder. She posted a video online, and after people called for his release, he did get out on bond. The Consul General of Mexico spoke after the service.
Today was a very sad day. We are with our community. We're close to our community, and I really appreciate the love that the family Torres has received today.
The judge recently ruled Torres Maldonado could stay in the U.S. because of the impact on his children. That opens the door for him to apply for permanent residence.
The widow of Bears legend Steve McMichael was arrested today in Will County. Misty McMichael has been charged with domestic battery. Sheriff's deputies were called to a home on Coos Road in Frankfort at around 5:25 this morning. McMichael and a man she was with both made comments that they had been drinking and arguing for hours. The man said the fight became physical and that McMichael choked him. McMichael denies that, but deputies noticed injuries and scratches on the man's neck. McMichael was taken to the adult detention facility.
Governor Pritzker stopped by Oak Park and River Forest High School today to talk about his plan for a school cell phone ban. He says the ban is about cutting out school distractions. It's also supposed to help with student mental health and cut down on cyberbullying. He pointed out some schools already have these rules and says it's making a difference.
We have a dramatic amount of evidence that these policies improve students' academic performance as well as their health and well-being. Bullying goes down while grade point averages and advanced placement tests at schools that have banned cell phones goes up. Attendance at after-school events increases, and these bans are also overwhelmingly popular, supported by 90% of teachers and 65% of parents.
The ban applies to every grade, K through 12, but there would be exceptions for medical reasons and emergencies.
Faith leaders, civil rights advocates, and members of Congress gathered on Chicago's northwest side today, sounding the alarm over what they call growing threats to democracy. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez co-hosted the Power of the People Summit alongside the Congressional Black Caucus chair, bringing together more than 100 organizers and community leaders. The focus here, protecting civil rights, safeguarding elections, and pushing back against what speakers described as federal overreach. Organizers say the message here is simple: democracy requires collective action.
We also know this, that the power of the people is stronger than the weapons that they attempt to yield against us. And so we're committed to work together in building coalitions across our intersections and issues, and working really hard not to let those who try to destroy us divide us.
They are also urging people to get involved through organizing, legislation, and the courts to protect the rights of all.
Taking a live look outside. Ooh,
beautiful.
Very blue.
Mm-hmm.
Feels blue out there too, right? Because blue's cold.
Yeah, blue is cold. Okay. It's cold.
Yeah.
That's right.
I use a lot of blue on the map for the forecast coming up this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, but you know what? You're looking at that picture, and the lake looks pretty calm in spite of the fact we're seeing some, pretty breezy conditions. It's because the winds are coming out of the west, coming off the shore. So right along the shoreline, it looks pretty blue and not quite like glass, but not a whole lot of waves right along our side of the shore. We also have halfway decent visibility in that we're able to see down the lake. Meanwhile, we're pretty dry at the moment after a couple of snowflakes and flurries that we've had throughout a good portion of the day across parts of the area. The snowfall largely moving off towards Michigan, a little pocket of some very light snowfall over towards the Mississippi River. So temperatures back to normal for the weekend and all the way through Monday. But look at this. A lot of orange and red splashed across the map. This is the temperature trend outlook, taking us all the way into the early part of the next month. And we are looking at temperatures, again, that will be trending above average. Now, it's not going to play out over the weekend. In fact, our temperature is a couple of degrees below average. But by the time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday come along, the trend for above average temperatures looking pretty good now. I don't see any 60s in the forecast, but certainly back up into the 40s with the 50. We do fall off early next week, but then we're right back on the trend line above average. Well, taking over the next couple of hours, we do have cloudy skies giving way to partly cloudy skies for a time period overnight tonight. That's when temperatures will fall down into the low, in some cases some mid-20s overnight tonight. But we should be dry for the most part overnight tonight. But we do have a few more chances of some flakes and flurries over the weekend. Nothing major coming our way, but some breezy conditions still as we go throughout the evening hours. Your 7-day forecast does include milder temperatures. I have that coming up.
Welcome back. We are continuing to follow one of the biggest stories of the day. The Supreme Court struck down President Trump's sweeping tariffs.
Let's bring in Caroline Shapiro. She's a professor of law at Chicago-Kent College of Law. Thank you for joining us. First, I want to ask you, how do you interpret the court's decision today?
Well, as a matter of law, it says pretty simply that the statute the president relied on to issue his tariffs doesn't authorize him to issue tariffs at all. That's the legal ruling of the case, and there's disagreement among the justices in the majority about precisely why that is, but they all agree, all 6 of them, that the statute just doesn't give him that authority.
You know, Carolyn, multiple conservative justices here, including 2 appointed by President Trump, 3 justices voted no. What were the dissenting opinions here?
Well, the dissenting opinions, the primary dissenting opinion by Justice Kavanaugh disagreed with the interpretation of the statute itself. And he was joined by Justice Thomas and Justice Alito. Justice Thomas also had an opinion that nobody joined that is frankly, in my view, very strange. He argues that there wasn't a problem here with Congress maybe delegating a lot of authority to the president to issue tariffs because in England, the issuing tariffs was the prerogative of the crown. And so somehow that affects the analysis. But since we had a revolution to get rid of the crown, I'm a little puzzled by that one.
So did the president imply he would challenge the decision, and I guess, can he?
No, he said he strongly disagreed with the decision, and he said lots of really quite inappropriate things about the court and the justices, but he didn't say he would challenge it, and there really isn't a way to challenge it. What he did say he would do is issue tariffs, even the same tariffs or even higher tariffs, under other statutes that he claims gives him that authority. And the court didn't opine on that at all. And I'm not an expert in the law of tariffs, so I can't opine on that at all. What I've read, though, suggests that the other statutes that he might rely on come with their own restrictions, and whether they're time limitations or requirements that certain things be done first before the tariffs are issued. We'll have to see how that plays out. But the fact that he says, I'm going to do it this other way, and I believe even issued an order today doing that, is actually a sign of compliance with what the court said, not defiance.
I want to talk to you, Carolyn, before we let you go, because obviously you are on the legal side of things, precedent. Have we ever been in a position like this from a legal perspective as a country in the past?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but I would say in lots of ways, no. What we have right now is a president who basically believes that he can do whatever he wants. I mean, he thinks that that's what Article 2 of the Constitution means. He said that actually, I think, during his first term. He says that international law doesn't constrain him. He said that recently to the New York Times. He does not believe that the things that we have in place to protect democracy, to protect the rule of law, should or do constrain him. And one of the things that's interesting about this opinion is that it's the first time the Supreme Court, in a big way, has said to him that at least this term, no, you can't do that.
All right, Caroline Shapiro, thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
Thank you so much.
Well, the spring-like weather was so nice while it lasted, but now it's back to reality.
It's been chilly and windy out there. Marcus tracking how cold it'll get this weekend in his full forecast.
Cubs and Sox in the diamond for the first time to open up Cactus League play. Max Crosby linked to the Bears in another trade proposal. And Illinois' Kylan Boswell checks in from the West Coast ahead of the Illini's game against UCLA. We have that and more coming your way next in sports.
All right, welcome back. We got to talk about the weather. I was hoping.
Oh, you don't have to sound so down about
I
it.
do feel down. You know, I was thinking short skirts. You know, at least for me, I can't speak for you. And now I got to return back to my winter gear, all bundled up. People want to see this.
You give her 2 days of 60s.
The people.
Wow.
Cart, horse.
Wow.
They go in order there.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Still February.
We got to have fun.
Yeah.
Still February.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Reality.
And let me give you some good news here. Let me talk you down off the ledge, because we do have temperatures in the 40s coming our way, and those temperatures are 10 degrees above average.
Wear the skirts that day.
Yeah, there you go. And you know, I think of it this way. If you were wearing a skirt today, you'd look like Marilyn Monroe, because those winds, 40, 50 miles per hour, you'd be like that old black and white movie. Well, overnight low temperatures tonight, we're going down into the 20s. Daytime high temperatures tomorrow, pretty close to average, right around the mid, maybe some upper 30s around Chicago. We are cloudy right now, 30 degrees, winds out of the west at 15, sustained winds with higher gusts. Right now it feels more like 19 degrees, the current wind chill value. We've had some snowfall today, mostly light, a little bit of sloppy snow that really hasn't amounted to much in most locations, just enough to be a little bit of a nuisance and to remind you that it is still indeed February. Temperatures right now, 29 on the southwest side, 30 on the northwest side. Our temperatures going down into the 20s overnight tonight. And then we're going to stay in the 30s for the rest of the weekend and into Monday. Couple of chances for some flurries and light snowfall. Saturday, late in the day, mostly into the evening, then early Sunday morning. And Sunday morning, we also have a shot of some lake effect snow, mostly over towards LaPorte County in Indiana, but south side of the lake could see a little bit of lake effect snow if we see anything that even amounts to much accumulation. And by that, I mean a couple of inches. It would be there, but a couple of things still have to come together before we get there. Here's the low pressure area. Watch here as this kind of retrogrades. It goes backwards here as we go through the weekend, and that keeps us in some cloud cover, keeps us in a little shot of some snowfall coming down the lake as we go towards Sunday. Here it comes right back, moving back from Canada back towards Detroit, and that keeps us in a little unsettled pattern as we go Monday, and certainly through the weekend and into Monday. By Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're back up into the 40s and 50s towards the end of the week. So tonight, overnight low temperatures down into the 20s, winds 15 to 30 miles per hour, but those winds even tapering off more so as we approach the later evening hours, down to about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So those high winds, again, that gusted 40 and 50 miles per hour, they will taper off eventually. Tomorrow, daytime high temperatures in the 30s, winds out of the west, a shot of some snowfall, not to be totally ruled out, especially later in the day. Sunday, any snowfall that does come down, it'll be early in the morning. Most cases, it's going to look a little bit like today, with the exception of perhaps northwest Indiana. We're dry Monday and Tuesday, temperatures pushing out of the 30s and into the 40s by Tuesday. Mid-40s, a shot of some rainfall coming in on Wednesday. And Thursday and Friday from the 40s back up into the 50s. Tia, that'll make you happier. Temperatures in the 50s.
Yes, that makes me happy. Well done, Mark. Well done.
Okay. The Bears could be busy making a big trade this offseason.
But first, we've got a baseball game. Cassie is here with sports.
Yeah, we keep seeing that graphic that's like, it's fake spring right now. Not fake spring out in Arizona, where the Cactus League opener started between the Cubs and White Sox today. Both teams playing around with their lineups. Jamison Tyone, who will be pitching in the WBC, starting for the Cubs. Jonathan Cannon starting for the White Sox. The sun was out and shining out at Sloan Park in Mesa. Bunch of new faces on the south side, including Austin Hayes, who swings on the first pitch he sees. Get the White Sox on the board first. 4-1 White Sox in the fourth inning. And Munetaka Murakami has been the talk of Sox camp. Bases loaded for the Japanese slugger, who flies one deep to center to Seiya Suzuki, who's playing there to prepare for the WBC. But Seiya loses it in the sun. That drives in 2 runs. And after Suzuki joked that he loved Murakami up until that point, White Sox win 8-1. Let's talk some NFL. Max Crosby linked to the Bears in another trade proposal. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler lists the Bears as one of 4 teams as a potential trade partner for the Raiders edge rusher. It also includes the Cowboys, Bucks, and Chargers. Now, this one is going to take a little bit more than before. Fowler said the Bears could get Crosby for DJ Moore, this year's first-round pick, and a 2027 third-round pick. Tonight on the offseason, Tom Thayer says he doesn't think it's a good idea to trade the wide receiver.
I love DJ Moore. He's one of my all-time favorite NFL players since he's come aboard and before he got here. I just love his reflection of professionalism. Whenever he's on the field, even if he gets dinged up, he's right back on the field. I'm not giving DJ Moore away for anything because I really like what he offers inside the locker room before they ever get on the game or the practice field. But I guess everybody is considerable when you're talking about a guy with the motor of Max Crosby.
We have plenty to talk about tonight on the premiere of Season 2 of the offseason. Bears Stadium news, Crosby trade potential, and to rate the Bears' priorities this offseason. So join the Athletics' Dan Wiederer and Bears radio analyst Tom Thayer and myself for the offseason. That's tonight at 6 o'clock on Fox Local and 9:30 right here on Fox Chicago. Well, Illini basketball wraps up their West Coast road trip tomorrow at UCLA, and Illinois got senior Kylan Boswell back Sunday against Indiana, and he brought his defensive presence back to the court. Tina Wynn caught up with Boswell on the makeup of this year's Illini team.
When you look at this group that you're playing with, I mean, one thing that really sticks out, you guys obviously have size. You guys can shoot the ball well, play well offensively, and of course, getting you back, I think that's a huge boost for them defensively. What makes this group so unique?
I think the biggest thing I've said all year is none of us have egos. We all accept our roles on this team. And our big word for us is leverage. And we try to leverage each other to play the best version of ourselves. I think when all of us have gotten from the point to now of buying into philosophies that the coaches preach, I think, as you guys can see, we've done a great job so far this year.
And you can catch Illinois UCLA basketball right here on Fox Chicago tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. USA men's hockey defeats Slovakia 6-2. They will face Canada in the gold medal match on Sunday morning. Tia and Terrence?
All right, Cassie, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
right for you.
Okay, who knew it was this simple? The secret to a happier marriage might be as simple as going to bed at the same time.
Talker Research surveyed 2,000 married couples and found couples have the same bedtime about 3 nights a week with an average bedtime gap of an hour and 20 minutes, or a time when they're not sleeping together. The survey revealed those who go to bed together more often are more likely to say they're very happy in their marriage. Nearly 60% say they feel closer to their spouse when they turn in at the same time. 4 in 10 say they actually sleep better. Researchers say it's less about the clock and more about connection.
This is about snoring, because if the other person goes to bed first and they snore, then you're never going to be happy because you're not getting adequate sleep. I know, because I snore, so I can be straightforward about it. So you got to go to bed at the same time, especially if one of the people snores.
See, I thought it was all about the romance. I thought it was all about cuddling.
That's the early stages, but the snoring, that'll blow everything up.
Yes, it will.
We're back to cuddle weather.
Yes, we are. Overnight tonight, we're down in the upper 20s, 30s for the weekend. Those temperatures staying about normal, but we get above normal coming up next week.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
All right, and thank you so much for joining us at 5.
Yeah, you can watch us on streaming on your
got
smart
no
TV
words.
with Fox Local.
We will see you tonight at 9. And don't we have another show?
The off-season.
The off-season,
6
that's
o'clock
right.
on
I
Fox
had to
Local
point to you
at
because I
9:30
couldn't
tonight.
remember. Thank you. Say it one more time.
6 o'clock on Fox Local, the off-season coming your way. It's premiering next.
Watch.
Watch, or else.